Hand disruption has always been a really powerful effect in the Pokemon TCG, and with the release of Arbok EX from Pokemon 151, that strategy just got a whole lot better. This 270 HP Dark-type Stage 1 EX Pokemon has the attack Menacing Fangs. For 3 Dark Energy, we deal 150 damage, which is not necessarily a lot. I mean, it's going to half-hit lots of Pokemon, so that's good. But most importantly, we ask our opponent to discard 2 cards from their hand. Now, they get to choose, but sometimes they only have 1 or 2 cards in hand, and that means that Arbok effectively says to your opponent, I'm going to half hit your Pokemon, you're going to have no cards in hand to respond, let's see how you can deal with it. Now, it's not necessarily an early game attacker, so Darkrai VSTAR might be a better option for us. It has the attack Dark Pulse for 2 colorless energy, and deals 30 damage plus 30 more for every Dark Energy that we have in play. That's obviously a very strong attack. We can potentially get some big one-hit knockouts with it, but I actually like Darkrai VSTAR in this deck for a different reason, and that's its Star Abyss VSTAR power. During your turn, we can put up to 2 item cards from our discard pile back into our hand. That doesn't necessarily seem like that good of an ability, but when you consider that we've got cards like Dark Patch in our deck, allowing us to accelerate basic Dark Energy from our discard pile to our benched Dark Pokemon, that is very powerful. And getting 2 Dark Patch plus an attachment means that an Arbok EX on the bench can come straight into the active and start attacking. We're also going to play 2 copies of Rigid Band in this deck. It allows our Stage 1 Pokemon to take 30 damage less from attacks, meaning our Arbok effectively has 300 HP. You can imagine it's very difficult for your opponent to deal with this card when they have nothing available to them in their hand, and Rigid Band could potentially save our Arbok, meaning that we get another Ekans in play quickly. And finally, one more card from Pokemon 151 that we get to play in this deck list is Grabber. We can use this to look at our opponent's hand, put a Pokemon that we find there on the bottom of their deck, and then that's it. That's what the card does. But really, what we get to do is we get to look at our opponent's hand and ask whether or not they have a supporter card. If they do, we can choose to Iono or Judge. If they don't, then we can start attacking with Arbok, knowing for a fact that our opponent can't draw out of it unless they top deck into a Research or Iono. I also like the fact that if they have a 3-card hand, you can potentially remove one of those cards just to make it that little bit more difficult for them to continue playing. So here is our deck list if you want to play along with us. It's also down in the description if you need to copy that one into Pokemon TCG Live. I'd 100% recommend it. And let's jump onto the ladder. We'll see if we can't get a game with Arbok EX. If we can get a win, that would be great. If you could subscribe, like, and comment for some engagement, that would be great, just for the sake of the algorithm. The algorithm just loves you typing in a little message down there. I read them all, so thank you so much to all those people who have. Let's see if we can Menacing Fangs our way to victory on Pokemon TCG Live. Time to get started, and we going first up against a Growlithe. Seeing a lot of those recently, and just people playing on the ladder with their starter decks. I don't know. That's all I care about, is getting this Ekans out as quickly as possible. Let's play him down. We've got an Energy and an Iono that we can hold on to if we want to. That's good. I think I might just use the Squawkabilly, though. That seems like a good ability. So we can get rid of the 2 Ionos there. Play down the Ekans, play down the Bidoof, attach the Energy, and then Squawkabilly Squawk and Seize to get started with a fresh new hand. And this is a pretty good one. I'm going to use Grabber here. We'll shuffle that Charizard to the bottom. They've got an Iono, so we're going to lose this hand, I think. But I actually really like the look of this. I think we're going to be in a good spot. If they don't play the Iono, then we're looking really good. But I know that they will, because we saw it in their hand. So, a bit disappointing. We will, of course, need to wait and see. Hopefully, when we do get Iono'd, we get Iono'd into a hand that has a supporter. Because if we do that, then we should be able to continue playing the game pretty reasonably. Now, what I'm going to try and do in this particular deck is I'm going to try and start off with our Darkrai V, our Darkrai VSTAR. Maybe we can get some attacks off with that. That would be fantastic. I'll just put the Ekans in the active. They're not going to be attacking this turn. We're going to try and get an attack off with our Arbok later. We're going to Darkrai VSTAR first, and then lock them up in the late game with the Arbok. So essentially saying, we don't care what you do, we have all the cards that we need, you are going to try and deal with us early, take prizes, then we're going to Iono you and lock you out of the game. That's what we're going to try and do here. Now, our opponent has gotten their Stoke, so they've got a Growlithe that's ready to go, but we have a pretty solid hand here, provided, of course, that we can draw into a copy of a Darkrai V-Star. We've got a Switch, and we've got a copy of Rigid Band as well. I actually don't know if this works on V-Star Pokemon. I'm just going to put it on the active. I don't know if it does. I presume that it does. Actually, no, it wouldn't, because V-Stars are not Stage 1s. They're just V-Stars, so it's okay, it doesn't matter. We find the Darkrai V-Star, which is fantastic, which means that we will be able to Dark Pulse here for a solid amount of damage. Don't think we're going to use our Star Abyss attack just yet. We'll hit into this Growlithe for perfect maths, and then go from there. I would really like to see a copy of Ultra Ball or Bibarel at some point. We could potentially Star Abyss for the Ultra Ball, but I'd almost prefer not to. It seems like a very, very weak hand to play. It looks like our opponent's got a solid hand. They've got a Growlithe and a Charmander. If they can get into their Charmander EX, their Charizard EX, this turn, then I think that they'd be looking good. Let's start off here with a Magma Base, and presumably to the Growlithe, which it looks like it's going to be. And then we'll see what else they have in their hand. Like I said, hopefully they have a supporter and they can kind of set their board up a little bit. Otherwise, if they don't, we can just sit here with our Darkrai V-Star and continue attacking. And it looks like that's going to be what we're able to do. So I like that quite a lot. We can use our Star Abyss, I think. It's probably capable of doing that. I'm going to attach an energy to our Ekans on the bench. And let's go for that. What cards could we get? Ultra Ball, Switch maybe? I don't know. I think we just judge. I'm going to judge my opponent. Give them a chance to play the game. I'm a kind and generous person. And look at that! For doing the right thing, I've been offered a barrel as compensation. We get Industrious Incisors and start drawing some more cards. Greninja's a pretty good one here as well, but don't know that we need to play it down. We're just going to Dark Pulse, take our second prize, and go out in front in this game, which is fantastic. We'll see what we get here. Dark Energy is pretty good. We can attach that to an Ekans. We also can then use Radiant Greninja if we want to. We can play Research. It would be disappointing, though, to lose the Roxanne. That could potentially be a bit of a problem, because Roxanne's fantastic in this deck. You can shuffle your opponent's hand to 2 and then attack with the Arbok to remove all of their cards and just leave them with the top card of their deck, whatever it might be. So hopefully we get a chance to show that off, but at this stage it looks like my opponent is struggling a bit. No, in saying that, they have Rare Candy and Charizard EX in hand, so they're ready and raring to go here. They'll be able to Infernal Flame and accelerate a bunch of energy cards. They can't quite get a knockout on my Darkrai V-Star now, but they definitely can put some pressure on and force me to try and get a KO in a couple of turns. We'll see whether or not we're able to. I'm going to use Magma Base and accelerate some more energy to that Growlithe. And presumably they have something to do in their hand for next turn. They could also just retreat into the Cleffa and use Grasping Draw. But Burning Darkness seems like a pretty solid attack here. Putting my Darkrai on a clock, saying you're only going to be able to attack with this one more time. So let's play down a energy. We've got the Arbok EX off of the top deck there, which is great. We can evolve that. I think I'm just going to flat out research here and see what we get. We've actually got a really, really solid hand. We can Dark Patch onto the Arbok, which is great. I've got Rigid Band, which I could use if I want to. I can put that on an actual Stage 1 Pokemon. And then I can... do I Star Abyss now? I might actually Star Abyss now, because I know that I'm going to... no, just Dark Pulse. We'll just Dark Pulse. It's fine. I can save it so that my next Darkrai V-Star gets to use the Star Abyss, and that's probably better. I want to get to them to a point where they've got a low hand size, and then we can use our Menacing Fangs to reduce their output. And it's also worth noting here that the Menacing Fangs will knock this Charizard out. It is perfect maths with 180 to get us to that lovely 330 number. But the question is going to be, can I survive long enough? That Arcanine EX is very frightening at the back there. They'll be able to do 240 damage to this Darkrai and knock it out with Burning Darkness, and that's what they choose to do. But our opponent only has 2 cards in hand. Now, they will obviously get an extra 2 off of the prizes. We know one of those cards is Charmeleon, so hopefully Menacing Fangs here not only taking a knockout on Charizard EX, but can also potentially remove any good cards they have from their hand. I think it's probably time here. We could Ultra Ball for another Darkrai V-Star and use that ability right away. It's probably worth doing. We can discard 2 Dark Energies here and go for our Darkrai V-Star. This will give us the Star Abyss ability. We can utilize that ability and then play down Path to the Peak and start using our Menacing Fangs. So I feel like this is a pretty good spot to be in. We can grab a Dark Patch and a Grabber. So we can take a look at the hand that we're going to be discarding. We'll also Dark Patch onto a second Ekans. We'll play that Grabber down and take a look. We know there's a Charmeleon, so we'll put that on the bottom. They have an Iono, which is disappointing, so they're going to discard a Fire Energy and a Nest Ball, but at least we know that they are only going to get to play that Iono and then look at the 4 cards that they have available, and we've just drawn into some solid cards ourselves. We've got double Dark Patch here. We can throw those straight down and give ourselves another attacking option with Darkrai V-Star. We might also just play the Nest Balls here. Like, I don't know if it really matters too much. We will hold off on grabbing that Moltres just yet. I will grab it, I think, with the Nest Ball. Or I could just Menacing Fangs. I think the Nest Ball play is probably fine. Definitely worth grabbing the Moltres and putting it on the bench. Now I only have 1 card in hand. I can Menacing Fangs, discard their entire hand, bar the Iono, but more importantly, take 2 prizes, the perfect maths on the Charizard EX coming into play. And next turn, I'll be able to play down the Collapse Stadium if I want to and start powering up that Moltres on the bench, ready to give our Darkrai V-Star a very powerful attack for the game. We'll see whether or not it happens that way. Nest Ball and Dark Energy, good cards, but probably not going to be useful for us. It looks like our opponent's sending up Cleffa. Fair enough, it has free retreat. They're going to throw down a second Cleffa, and then they're probably just going to go for that Iono, right? They're going to play that Iono, shuffle our hand to the bottom of our deck, and we will draw 2 cards. Both of those cards not particularly useful. The Ultra Ball would be great if we could grab another Arbok EX, but I'm 99% sure that it's already in the discard pile. To be brutally honest, the only thing that I want to do here is I want to limit our opponent's hand, and they're going to be able to boost up the number of cards they have thanks to Grasping Draw, which is not ideal. Like, it's definitely a little bit difficult. They've got so many Cleffas here. Oh my goodness, look at this thing. There's so many of them coming into play, and there's the Grasping Draw ready to fill that hand up. We'll have to, oh, well, I was about to say, we'll have to draw into something good here. An Iono is a pretty good card, so we can play that. We'll shuffle our hand to the bottom and draw 2. Our opponent will shuffle and draw 4, and we will see whether or not we can find ourselves a hand that is dead for our opponent. That would be great. Holding on to the boss's orders for next turn means that I think we've pretty much just locked up the game unless we get ourselves get our hand disrupted. We'll use Menacing Fangs here. We'll knock out the Cleffa. That'll put 4 damage counters on us thanks to the punchy gloves. But it will mean as well that we have 1 more prize card to take, and our opponent will have to do it this turn, or otherwise, or they'll have to remove our Darkrai, this turn, as well as also getting rid of our boss's orders. So I think it's very unlikely, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, that our opponent is able to win this one, especially if their hand off of this Iono was not good. If their hand's not good, then the Menacing Fangs will make their decision really bad here. They're actually getting rid of an Iono, so they must have a draw supporter that is better, presumably. So that means that, hang on, if they've gotten rid of an Iono, that means we're actually really unlikely to see them use Iono this turn. So that might mean that the boss stays in our hand. You never know. We'll wait and see. Our opponent plays down a Nest Ball and grabs the Radiant Charizard. They also play down Magma Basin and then Avery. That's an interesting card. I mean, I'll get rid of the Squawkabilly, and I think I also just get rid of the Moltres. Very interesting supporter to play. It doesn't matter now, though, because we definitely win the game. We can't have our hand disrupted, even if they do take a knockout on this Arbok EX. We have the boss. We will be able to go straight in and attack. But to be brutally honest, it looks like they're going to come forward. No, I thought they were going to go with the Radiant Charizard there for a second. I guess they're just saying, hey, you don't have boss. You canine knock out this Arcanine EX. With 5 energy, you're not going to get 240 damage. I guess that's all that they're really doing. So they'll take a knockout. Actually, will they take a knockout here? I think they actually missed by 10. Now that I'm looking at this, I think they actually just missed by 10 with Bright Flame here. They're going to deal 250, but we do have that Rigid Band, reducing the amount of damage. 250 minus 30 is 220, plus 40 is 260. So they actually missed the KO. The Rigid Band coming up really clutch there. And now we've got multitudes of ways to win the game. We will switch into the Darkrai VSTAR and attack with Dark Pulse. That seems like the most powerful way to win this game. Dark Pulse for 300 takes the knockout on the Arcanine, but we had any knockout that we wanted on the board there, so I think that that's a massive win, and we put it down to the hand disruption from Arbok EX. What a cool card. Pokemon 151 really doing us lots of favors. Thank you for watching. Hopefully you've been enjoying the videos. If you have, like, subscribe, etc., and I will see you next time for more from the Sableyes. Bye.